Okay, so we got some developments to discuss. Just in the past few hours, this happened. So the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier and strike group ordered to Caribbean. So this is completely on par with everything that I've been saying. And if you've been listening to me, you know that there's a lot of stuff happening in the Caribbean. But that has to do with Venezuela. So they sent the Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier to the Caribbean. This is all just a show forced for Venezuela. It looks like Venezuela is going to do something, and this is probably just a deterrent. This is a big deal because the Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier is a huge aircraft carrier for the U.S. military. So they're not just going there to just be there. I would assume they're probably also gathering intelligence and reconnaissance. But literally just in the past few hours, this happened. So it looks like something will happen in the Caribbean. Looks like Venezuela will do something. Again, they have to be more careful than we do because Venezuela can't just attack us and then there's war. Venezuela has to do some sort of false flag or something to undermine the U.S. presence there. But it's really simple. If they just stop sending drugs over here, the U.S. will stop sending ships over there. But obviously, that's not going to happen because that's their main economy. Venezuela makes a lot of money off drugs. Same with the cartels that are in Venezuela. It's just this whole network. So they're not going to stop sending drugs. They're just going to have to figure out a way around the aircraft carriers. They're going to have to figure out a new way to transport these drugs to the U.S. Because believe me, they will not stop this. They make so much money off these drugs, and they don't use it for anything good. I mean, they just keep it in their pockets. But there's no way that they're just gonna, yeah, we're gonna stop sending drugs. No, they're gonna try to do sneaky ways to get drugs over here. But yeah, if you're a drug cartel guy and you're delivering drugs, I'd probably quit your job. You probably can't do that because they'll kill you, but that's the industry you chose to be in, so deal with it. So yeah, so it's going there now, and the Ford is currently in the Mediterranean Sea, so something's gonna happen. Hopefully, this is all just for show, but they wouldn't send this aircraft carrier just for show, in my opinion. So, in my opinion, I do think Venezuela will do something. And I think the U.S. knows that, and that's why they're sending some ships there. There's already ships there. There's already B-1 bombers over there. Looks like a war zone. And Venezuela does not want a conflict with us, but they do want to continue selling drugs. So that's a problem they have. They're gonna have to figure that out. But yeah, you see how this stuff just slowly integrates. I mean, just yesterday I was saying about the U.S. warned their allies about a conflict that's coming, and then today we have this. So it's just escalated since yesterday. Again, Venezuela is not like a threat. It's the drugs they're trying to bring in, which have halted a lot, and they're losing a lot of money. So when people who are used to making a lot of money all of a sudden don't have money, they literally freak out and they might do something dangerous. So that's what's going on there. I mean, you can take this information for what it is, however you want to see it. I just see this as a deterrent because if I had to guess, I would say Venezuela's trying to do something and U.S. knows about it and they're trying to stop it. What is that thing? I don't know. Maybe it's another drug ship. I don't know. But another thing I wanted to show you guys was this also just happened. Ukraine attacks Russian energy grid, severe widespread damage. So do you see this headline right here? The Ukraine just attacked Russia from inside. Wait a second. I thought they needed the Tomahawks to do that. Yeah. So Russia, I mean, Ukraine is very, how do I say this? They're desperate. So obviously Russia's going to respond, and it's probably going to be a major offensive, which means both countries are going to lose a lot of soldiers. But again, they don't really care at the top. Soldiers are just numbers to them, especially in Ukraine. They're literally just a number. They do not care how many people die as long as the war continues. There's 40,000 people without electricity. Like, this is a big deal. I mean, imagine if Mexico struck an energy grid here and a few cities were out of power. People would lose their minds. Well, this is exactly what's happening on the other side of the world, right here in Ukraine, Russia. So this is a major escalation. Trump can't be happy about this. I'm sure Ukraine is celebrating this because now that means Russia will respond, which means the war will continue even longer. So, like I was saying the past few videos, like this is only gonna annihilate every person on Earth unless there's peace within the next like year. And that's even a pretty generous timetable, 1 year. Obviously, Trump is trying to stop that, but it keeps getting worse every day. So, thankfully, I have been aware of this situation even before the war started. So, I'm not even really that worried. I mean, if we all die, we all die. I've known this for years. But the rest of the world, okay, so Russia's on one side of the world, US is on the other side of the world. If we start sending nuclears, weapons, launching nukes, everybody in between dies. That's you and me, by the way, even if you live in one of those countries. So I don't think, 8 billion people deserve to die just because a couple satanic pedophiles want money and power. That's just my opinion. I know the globalists have a completely different opinion. They would rather kill us just so that they can stay in power and, do their thing. And so we're at a really incredible moment in time. Everyone knows about the Israel-Gaza situation. Everyone knows Israel is not abiding by that peace plan. But this is a much bigger deal. Because Israel and Hamas, as long as Israel funds Hamas, there will never be peace. I mean, they're literally paying Hamas to attack them so that the war continues. So in my opinion, that's like a no-win situation. Like, I think for the next thousands of years, they're going to be fighting, as it's always been. But this situation can be fixed. This can be fixed like right now. If Putin and Zelensky meet with Trump in the middle, chaperoning them like two little children, they can have peace. But how is that going to happen now? I mean, Zelensky just launched attacks inside of Russia where civilians are living. So will Putin even want to meet Zelensky at this point? See, like, this is just an impossible situation almost. But if Trump can get them both in the same room and Trump is in that same room directing the talks, then that's our best option. And even that's not even guaranteed. Trump is just a man. So, but he's the best possible guy for that. So this has escalated tremendously just in my past video. We heard what Dimitri was saying yesterday. So this just looks bad, bad, bad. I wish I could just tell you guys, hey, the war's over. We have peace. Nah, there's more war. It's only escalating. It's escalating to thermonuclear war. But we've all known this for years. We all know this is what they want. We all know this is what they've been planning. And getting kind of tired of it. So honestly, I'd kind of rather just see an end to this, whether it's war or peace. Like, just make up your mind, because I don't want to have to worry about this for the next year. But with all that being said, Trump is the only guy I can really think of that can handle this in a successful way. And if it gets really to a point, then I'm sure Trump will just force them in the same room with him. But let's not get to that point. Let's do it right now. Let's do it right now. Why not tomorrow? Or it doesn't even have to be in person. You can just do a 3-way telephone call with Putin and Zelensky and yourself, Mr. President. I think that could just solve some issues right there. But at the end of the day, Trump does need to be in the room or on the call with Putin and Zelensky. I do not trust them both to get anything done. I would trust Putin more. Zelensky is just the most, yeah, he's just the worst. And Putin's no angel, but at least he can negotiate and communicate. I mean, Zelensky can't even do that without screaming for money and American soldiers. I don't know if you saw that clip of him when he was at the White House when he said America needs to send their sons and daughters to Ukraine. This is just who he is. He's never been told no. He's like a spoiled kid. He never gets told no. So when Trump says no, he screams, and that's the end of that meeting. But like I said, these people in power are so childlike because their entire lives, basically, they've been given everything they've ever wanted for free with no questions asked. And then Trump comes in and starts saying no, and you see what happens. So, again, this is only going to get solved with Trump, Zelensky, and Putin in the same room or on the same call. Nobody else needs to be involved. Nobody else. I think anyone else will only damage it. I think Trump is literally the only person on earth that could get them together and agree on something. I mean, even if the war doesn't fully end, they can at least agree on some parts, which is better than nothing. Because right now, Ukraine's striking Russia, civilians. Not that Russia's never done that before, but yeah, this is kind of a big deal. And I'm sure the Russian citizens aren't happy about it either, and I'm sure they want to respond as well. I mean, like I said, imagine if this happened in your city. What if Mexico or Canada launched a missile and your power's out? Are you just going to sit there and be like, it's okay? Or are you going to be like, okay, maybe we should retaliate? Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. Putin's going to have to do something about this. He can't just let this happen, otherwise he's going to look weak. There will be a response. Ukraine knows that, but they love it because they love being attacked. I'm sure once Russia responds, NATO and Europe will probably be like, oh, here's another $500 billion. You got attacked, even though Ukraine just attacked Russia. But like I said, this is war, so there is no right or wrong answer. There's only what's best. Putin and Russia are not the good guys. Ukraine and Zelensky are not the good guys. There is no right or wrong. There's only what's best for the world, and right now the world needs this war to end. Even if that means Ukraine collapses and Russia takes the entire country of Ukraine. You understand that that's better than nuclear war? A lot of people don't want to say that out loud, but I would rather have Ukraine completely collapse and Russia take it over than to send my peers to war. I have nothing to do with Ukraine. I have nothing to do with Russia. This war has nothing to do with me. I'm not going over there to serve for either side. And neither is the rest of the world. So this has to end either one way. Russia wins, they take all of Ukraine, there is no more Ukraine. Or there's just a thermonuclear war and every single person dies. Again, there's no right or wrong, there's only what's best in war. And right now, the best option is ending the war. And again, Ukraine can end the war right now with Trump's help. They will have to concede a lot of land, but they're not going to lose the entire country. If they don't make a peace deal with Trump now, Ukraine itself won't even be on a map. My kids will look at a world map and Ukraine won't even be there. It'll say Russia. And that's better than nuclear war. So a decision has to be made here. If I was Ukraine, I would just surrender the land that you lost, make a peace deal with Trump so that you can keep the remainder of Ukraine, Because otherwise, Ukraine is literally going to go out of existence. Like, the Ukrainian people will die off. Like, they won't even exist in 150 years. So if Ukraine really cares about Ukraine, they should surrender, because that way they can still have a country called Ukraine and they could build it up again. Because at this point, Russia's going to take the whole country, make it into Russian territory, and then there's no more Ukraine. So, and I don't care. I'm not from Ukraine. I have nothing to do with Ukraine. If Ukraine wants to commit genocide on itself, then okay. But I'm not going to go to war for you for that. That's ridiculous. And Russia's probably in the best spot for this, because just because Donald Trump says stop doesn't mean Russia's going to stop, and they don't have to. They have full control. They're in the driver's seat. They don't have to listen to a foreign country tell them no. So it's interesting to see what Russia's going to do, because obviously they're going to respond to this attack. But then after the response, are they just going to go after the whole of Ukraine because Ukraine isn't conceding? That could happen. That could happen. And if it does happen, well, then that's it. Ukraine, you had 2 years to make a deal. You could have surrendered and still kept Ukraine. But we'll see what happens. Let's see Let's see how Russia responds first, and then we will see the outcome next. Yeah, I'm sure the president will be asked about this all day tomorrow, because the media only cares about this topic right now, and Israel, Gaza, which is fair, but this is a much more important deal, in my opinion, because Israel and Hamas can fight forever, but these two countries cannot. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But I did want to show you guys this. You can read this article. This is on Hal Turner. Just give some more information, but I'm just looking at this from a main perspective. Like, Russia obviously will respond. Ukraine will play victim and say, oh my gosh, we got attacked again. Well, yeah, you're in a war. That's what happens. And I'm sure Europe will try to give them money and weapons. But we'll see what Trump says. If Trump might just be like, you're on your own. Maybe. We'll see. But quite an escalation just in the past couple hours here. And will people really care about this? I don't know, because it's a Friday night here in the U.S. and nobody's paying attention to the news right now. Everyone's watching sports or going out. So like I said earlier, sometimes they try to slip stuff in on Friday nights and the weekends and hope people don't notice. But if Russia responds, Ukraine will make it the biggest deal ever. Zelensky will probably come back to the White House for like the 10th time. This whole thing's ridiculous. So, and I don't care what happens. Like, if Russia wins, Ukraine wins somehow, I don't care. This is not my country. This has nothing to do with me. Just end it or make something happen, because I don't want to die just because Zelensky and Putin can't get along. But that's a very real possibility. Same for you, by the way. On that lovely note, hope you guys have a great Friday night, and if anything else happens, I'll do another video. So, see you next time.